Citizens for Decent Literature. Not good literature, but decent.
Wait, I can be a pervert for profit?
Filmed in Drunkovision.
Hello there. I'm George Putnam.
And no, I don't have
I'd
a chair
like to
for my
begin with a
desk.
fact.
Stop asking.
A simple yet shocking fact. It is this.
Lay it on me.
A flood tide of filth is engulfing our country in the form of newsstand obscenity.
Woo!
And is threatening to pervert an entire generation of our American children.
Is he wearing a fish from his
We
neck?
know that once a person is perverted, it is practically impossible for that person to adjust to normal attitudes in regard to sex.
Embrace your perversion.
Yet much of this
There's
material
no
has been
going back.
described as an illustrated, detailed course in perversion, abnormal sex,
Anything other than
crime,
missionary,
and
I'm guessing.
violence. It is also a fact that no matter who buys this material, 75 to 90% of it ends up in the hands of our children.
And hiding it in obvious
you might
places
ask
like the
yourself, why
closet
this
and
sudden
under our
concern?
mattresses.
Pornography
Or locked
and
up
sex
securely in a
deviation have always
safe.
been with mankind.
Yeah, I'm a responsible porn owner, thank you very much.
But now,
Yep, I take my
consider
porn
another
and I
fact.
disassemble it,
Never
so I
in
keep the boobs
history
and
of
the
world
faces in different
have the
spots.
merchants of obscenity, the teachers of unnatural sex acts, had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. High-speed presses, rapid transportation,
Printing
mass
Co. Printing your
distribution.
filth since
all have combined to
1953.
put the vilest obscenity within reach of every man, woman, and child in the country.
Da, na, 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 na,
In the
na, na,
past few years, this obscenity traffic and salacious newsstand literature have become increasingly worse. Not only in content.
It's hard to take this guy serious when,
volume.
like, the only upper tooth
This
you see
traffic
is, like,
continues
right
to
down the
increase
middle.
and flourish for one reason. It is big business, profitable business.
You hear that,
For the
kids? It's time to invest in
mercenary
porn.
persons who produce it, and for its more than 800 distributors.
It's weird someone talking
The
about
United
how
States
unusual
Supreme Court
sex
has
acts are
described it as
bad when
dirt
obviously he's
for
got a giant
dirt's
stick
sake.
up his ass.
We describe it as dirt for money's sake. Obscene literature is a $2 billion
I feel like
a
they
year
had to
business.
go through a few drafts of that
That's
drawing
$2
not to make it
billion.
so anti-Semitic.
Through this material, today's youth can be stimulated to sexual activity for which he has no legitimate outlet. He is even enticed to enter the world of homosexuals, lesbians, sadists, masochists, and other sex deviants.
Yeah, whatever you like, bro.
The psychiatric terms for these unnatural sex acts are unknown to most decent adults in our country.
Oh, uninformed individuals.
But through
Cool.
this salacious
Assholes
material,
like you.
these
Perversion for
abnormalities
Profit,
are
brought to you
corrupting the
by
minds
assholes
and the
like
hearts
you.
of our children. Perversion for profit. Here
It
is the
was
most
octopuses all
vicious, the most
along.
insidious feature of
Looks
these
so sad.
publications. They constantly portray abnormal sexual behavior as being normal. They glorify unnatural sex acts. They tell youngsters that it's smart, it's thrilling, it provides kicks to be a homosexual.
Just try it,
a
bro.
sadist, and every
Instead
other
of being a
kind
dick.
of deviant.
A hateful, hateful dick.
The Military Chaplains Association of the United States, practically every major fraternal, civic, and religious organization, the juvenile court judges, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, innumerable psychiatrists,
Get back to the
sociologists,
sex
and
stuff.
psychologists, attribute the moral decay among our people in very large part to the obscene and pornographic literature so prevalent in our society.
I hear you. Could you show us some examples?
Moral decay weakens our resistance to the onslaught of the communist masters of deceit.
Listen, guy, I'm just here for the book
A
club.
major
Did you read the
factor that
Joy
makes
Luck Club or
youngsters
not?
Prime targets for this printed filth is the natural curiosity of youth about the mysterious force of sex. Yet, on virtually every newsstand is a welter of misinformation which can wreck them for life.
Rectum?
Well, at this point, my friends, I wish to make it clear that the obscenity I'm talking about
He won
and the
a tiny
examples that I'm
Oscar.
about to show you were not bought on the sly from under the counter. They were not purchased on Skid Row or on the other side of the tracks. They can be bought openly by anyone in drugstores.
Well, you see, that's just
groceries,
bad city
delicatessen
planning. There's no
terminals,
road
malt
that goes
shops,
through
cigar
there.
Stores, newsstands, all over the community. They can be purchased by children, whether in a small town like McAllen and the Rio
I'm
Grande,
pretty sure they
or in
can't.
Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles. A prime example of one major category are the so-called girly magazines.
All right,
which
let's see
sell
how he
over
connects
15
girly mags to
million
homosexuality.
copies a month. These highly colorful magazines picture stark nudity on slick paper.
It
They
just
often
doesn't
present their
absorb the
subject
load,
on
John.
bed or
His whole
couch,
rhetorical thrust
in
here is that
positions
porno
indicative
mags
of
need to be more
intercourse or other
absorbent.
sex act, obviously calculated to stimulate the reader. The nakedness, the nudity of these
If
magazines
God wanted
is
people to be
defended
naked,
and
he'd have them
foisted
be
upon the
born that
people
way.
by a vociferous minority in our society.
They even blocked out the eyes of the
They lack
cartoon.
the moral standards and values of our Judeo-Christian heritage.
Values which I
They
espouse
not only
by
oppose
killing
the
hookers at rest
principles of that
stops.
heritage, which has given us our rich institutions and laws, but they advocate their overthrow. For the sake of decency,
They censored her eyes, but not her tits?
Partially covered the pictures and
Yeah, I think that
disguised
this
the
might be
identity of
passable at the
model.
moment if we turn the
But
volume off.
actually, these magazines not only display complete nudity, but they do so in a perverted manner. Such as this appeal to the sodomist. Such
How
as
many
these
perverts
shots,
do you think
which
this
are
actually
typical of the
created?
preoccupation with the female
Wait, I
breast
can buy this?
to a point
Where?
that it has become
Where?
a-
Quickly, tell me!
And this one, with its overtones of bestiality.
So if you have sex with their dog
And
in the
with
room, you're a
lesbian
bestiality.
Another
Aficionado?
important problem common to these publications is the dwelling upon teenage participation in wild, flagrant abuses of the God-given gift of sex.
Thank you, God.
This is amply depicted by the pose of this obviously young girl,
This guy
her
a
clothes,
connoisseur
and
of
the
younger
disarray of
women?
sexual activity, with the stimulus of alcohol indicated by the tumbler placed on her thigh. And again, the breast fetish. Note the sensual expression alluded to by Dr. Sorokin, the renowned Harvard sociologist,
That's
as
her?
being the hallmark of so much of contemporary photography. And then we come to nudist magazines. If they were printed only for the nudist cult,
Yeah, someone
they would
behind the
never
production of this had a
their
real
circulation
collection
would not
of nudie
support the cost of
magazines.
printing. These total exposures are not of nudists in some instances, but rather of paid professional models.
I've never been so offended in my
Group
life.
exposure is a hallmark of these cultists. However, it's been well stated that very few blind people join the nudist colonies.
For some reason, they don't see
This
the
mixture of
appeal.
male and female with total anatomical detail is typical of these magazines.
Seriously, if
young
you were a
boy in
high school boy
Philadelphia
in school,
raped and killed
I mean,
a
could you think of anything
5-year-old
other than
girl.
where's my nearest newsstand and
While
how
he
do I
was
steal one of
testifying
these?
that he had been stimulated to this heinous crime by reading a nudist magazine, a federal court judge in Washington was granting to that very same publication a second-class mailing permit. And then we come to a terribly sad indictment of our society, the so-called physique group of publications. These magazines with a homosexual viewpoint and poses are often
How did he
not
get into those
understood
pants?
by many youngsters who take them as instruction of body development.
All right, I kind of
But
feel
psychiatrists
inadequate.
believe
I
that
get his
prolonged
frustration a
exposure
little bit.
of even the normal male adult to this type of publication, though he may not be aware of its true nature,
Manual.
will nevertheless pervert.
Pervert? I didn't know that was a
Think then of the
verb.
consequences to the inexperienced
I'm going out to
youth
pervert.
who, in purchasing and studying this material, becomes a pawn for these misfits.
I'm just
These
saying, dude, you have a
homosexuals
lot of these.
who have a slogan that betrays
And it seems
the
you're really
evil
interested
of
in
the
making
breed.
sure that their quality is maintained
Today's
by the plastic
conquest,
sleeves you have
they
them in,
say,
and how you don't let anyone
is
touch them.
tomorrow's competition.
And when you do bring them
See
out,
the
it's always
tender
on a
age
velvet
at which
sheet while you wear
homosexuals
gloves.
prefer their conquests. Look here at the young face.
Well, you covered
and
up
bright
half of it.
smile, which could be the hope of the world. But in the other half of the picture is revealed the seduction of the innocent. Look at this poor young lad.
That guy's
But when
butthole
looking,
is on the left
think
side
of
of
the
his
others
hip.
who might follow his
I mean, how
perfidious
skinny
footsteps.
is left
When
butt
photos
cheek
like
to where
these are
butthole's
available
visible
at
in
the
this
corner news
position?
rack. And so it goes. Countless poses, still.
Yeah, that looks like a
pictures,
child.
slides,
Starting to feel
movies,
like a confession.
all with the same content. And more of the same.
Let us focus for
This
several
picture is
more
not
minutes
one
on this
typical
material,
of
which I
the
ostensibly
magazine.
find so
It
objectionable.
approaches another class of magazines dealing with transvestites, wherein the wearing of female garments is that which provides sex gratification for the
I
participant.
think you're describing cross-dressers,
This
but
picture, of course, merely confesses on the cover of the magazine the charges we have made. In this ad, the titles of the magazines and their table of contents speak more eloquently than I.
Well,
of
that's
the
a low
tremendous
bar.
problem here presented. Sexual sadism, strange flagellation cult,
flatulation
Erotic.
cult.
confessions of a sadist. What is fetishism?
Well, spelled
The pleasure
wrong
of
for one
pain,
thing.
the
Chapter
worship of
7,
the whip,
hair.
sexual problems of a
I
masochist.
beat people and they pay me,
Followed by
Chapter
a
12.
whipping. Famous transvestites. Are cross-dressers afraid of sex? These titles lead us to an even more bizarre but
Look at that
nevertheless
look in his
common
eyes. He's
product
loving it.
of our news racks. The composite picture here speaks for itself. This type of aberration is usually depicted by showing several persons, one of whom is dominant, and binding or inflicting pain upon the other.
They really have a
And thus,
laissez-faire
the
approach to
grotesque
censoring butts.
costuming and the significance of the extreme spiked heel and the tight boot, the riding crop, the burning
The
cigarette,
passion pit.
rubber and leather garments, and all the rest. And
That one
here
looked like a
again,
ransom
an
note.
appeal to the sodomist with a play upon the buttocks.
Here is
the lace
rule34.com. Type in anything.
This picture
It would
hints
just
at
blow
the
his
common
damn
idea
mind.
of bestiality. Dr. Sorokin, the renowned sociologist at Harvard, says that today the newsstands, quote, depict the world as a sort of human zoo.
I think we need to
inhabited
loosen
by
that
raped,
tie. It's clearly cutting off
mutilated,
oxygen
and
supply to his
murdered
brain.
females, and by he-males.
What's the difference
outmatching
between
in
he-male
bestiality
and male?
Cavemen.
Well, he-male is the name of the
outlusting the
protagonist
lustiest
in
of
his
animals.
literotica story.
Male and female alike are hardened in cynical contempt of human life.
Yeah.
And
Nothing
value.
speaks against human life
Unquote.
like sex.
The degradation of these people is so complete, as shown here.
Whoa, that's a lot to
that their
take in.
sex satisfaction
Is that a guy in
and
a
climax
KKK
come
mask
only in
whipping
being
the shit out of that
tortured
woman's
themselves.
butt?
How
Of
weird that he had no
inflicting
objection
torture
to
on
that
others.
imagery.
Even the blasphemy of the human body is depicted in this devilish, sadistic shot, becoming more and more common on
No
our
censoring for this
newsstands
picture,
of
huh?
America. Seldom have you been in a supermarket without brushing by the news rack with the so-called men's adventure magazines, where with word and picture, lust and violence
Gucci,
fill
Gucci,
pages
Gu.
devoured by juvenile eyes. It would seem that publishers of this material deliberately print these magazines.
I like to think that they're
narcotics
accidental
to hook
printings of
the
magazines.
adolescent into the
We
knowledge
accidentally
of the
printed a
unnatural.
run of 2 million? Oh,
These
no!
publishers know
Not
well
again!
that once so exposed, the insatiable curiosity of youth will cause him to delve deeper and deeper into
Admittedly,
this
that's
grotesque
problematic.
material until
Yeah.
his utter depravity is complete. All of you have heard of mail order obscenity.
No, let me tell you all about it.
Graphically illustrated.
Let
by
me show you
these
the collage
advertisements.
I made.
All
It
of which
definitely
were
isn't
clipped
hung
from this
over my
one
bed.
copy of a single girly magazine. In these, as well as in all the other groups of magazines, the rawest materials.
I mean,
can
I'm
be
just
ordered
saying, his collection
through
is
the
well
United
organized.
States Mail.
It's like walking through a porn
And thus,
museum.
Newsstand publications create a market for illustrated hardcore pornography. After these displays, you probably think that there couldn't be anything worse.
Now, I don't think I can think
Perhaps
after
the most
listening to you talk for this
single
long.
group of
I feel like that's the
publications
point.
is the cheap pocketbook. In page after page of these so-called novels,
Which I've
sex
spunked
organs,
to the wall.
positions of intercourse, abnormal sex practices of every kind are described with intimate physical detail.
Yeah, fuck
Nothing
creativity.
is left to the imagination. An invitation even is extended to the reader to come join the fun.
I like how much disdain he had for the word fun.
Are liable to pull down the corners of the obscene passages, the more readily to dwell on them over and over and over again. And the teenager soon gets to recognize the publishers of the
Hey, don't
work
yell at me.
material and seeks out their products.
Hey, he's leaving.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, God damn it.
This is a book typical of many. It is called Sex Jungle.
It's a really great series.
I
You
would
should
like to
it.
read you a passage from this book, not because it is particularly obscene, but because it portrays a philosophy that is aimed at our young people.
Oh, well, this should be a
This
balanced take
philosophy
on
is
it.
not just in
Let's see.
this book.
If it's fun
But
and it
through
doesn't
all
hurt
of this
anyone, good job.
That's probably going to be it. Yeah.
A 16-year-old boy, member of a gang, has just clubbed an old man in the course of a robbery.
Oh, wait. No,
He's
it's gone
thinking
wrong
back
already.
Over his accomplishment. Maybe he would die. That would mean I had murdered him. I smiled, trying the idea on.
Look
for
at how
size.
into. Did you murder him?
One of the things that always
Confession!
achieved me a
Confession!
little was that I had no kills to my credit. I'd been in plenty of rumbles. but
Look how
somehow
infrequently
I'd
he's
never
looking
cooled
down to
anyone.
consult the text. He knows this
Well,
by
maybe now I
heart.
had my first one. I couldn't feel very proud of sculling an old man, but at least I could say that I'd scored. That was a big kick.
They had to close in on his face
What are we
because
alive
he's fully
for,
erect
except to
right now.
grab all the kicks
He's not
we
even wearing
can?
pants.
Sex, that's a kick. Sure, a damn good one. A guy can't ever get enough of that.
Wiping
Drinking.
gray matter off my dick.
That's
Also
another
another kick.
An okay kick.
God.
Marijuana? Sure. M's good, too.
No
Don't
one
let
calls
get
it
the upper hand
M.
with you.
You
Heroin,
narc.
H. There was something to be said for that. I'd tried it. But horse isn't such a good kick because it takes more than it gives.
And you have to grind up a whole horse to get any.
You use it, and you don't get any kick. There were others. Rape.
Jeez, what
That
a
was
jump.
kick that I'd tried a couple times. It makes you feel real big to grab
Hey,
a girl.
listen,
rip her
guys, it's
clothes
going to go
off,
on
and
too much
take her.
longer. I got stuff to do.
The way I figure it, you get kicks from what you do to other people. If you take something from a girl that she values, you've gained something. Or at least that's the way I look at it.
I don't know,
I'm
Dick.
brainier than a lot of
I think
gang
your
guys.
screenplay could use some work.
I
It's
spent a lot of
kind
time
of
thinking.
weird.
Maybe I should have been a professor. The way I thought it out, taking a girl's cherry's a hell of a gratifying thing. And so is murder.
Say what you will
That was
about this
one
nutter,
kick
but he's
I
got a
hadn't
sweet
experienced
globe
yet.
bowling ball in the
Taking
background.
life. That's living big.
Damn.
Only
Do you think that thing
I
like
wasn't
pops
happy
open and
about
has
doing
like
it
a little
this
mini bar in
long,
it?
Drawn out way. An old man slowly
He looks
died.
like a classy gent.
There wasn't much kick in that. But sticking a knife into a guy, twisting upward, that must be something. End of quote.
You know, maybe you could have found a more concise passage that sums up your point.
I repeat, my friends.
Oh, I
I
think
have
he has
not shown
friends.
you
That's
these
cute.
pictures and quoted from this material merely to shock
Why are
you
some of the
or
states
make
on his
this
map
presentation
highlighted and
sensational.
shaded in red?
It is only to
Are they
show
targets?
what is openly
Are those where the
available on
good
your
rest
news
stops
channel.
are that have rivers next to them?
And think of this. What you have just seen is not the worst material available.
Let me take you to
And
my
yet,
private
even this
reserve
required
It's through this
editing
vault
to make
door.
it suitable
through my
to
human
be shown
skin
in
door.
this film. The vast majority of this material is too obscene to show or to quote to you.
Is it the rest of the southern part
Well,
of that
certainly
map?
Other factors are contributing to the moral decay that concerns so many decent people today. But isn't it reasonable to presume that material such as you've just seen is one of the major factors?
No.
And it is important to realize that even if you knew that your own children would never, under any conditions, buy or read this material, if you knew this, and you can't know this,
So
you must
beat them.
realize that
Beat
they
your
are
children.
constantly exposed to those who do read this material and who might be triggered into compulsive acts of sex violence. As I said before, the most insidious feature of these publications
You know,
is
this
that they
guy either has the
glorify
most
crime
boring sex in
and
the world or
ridicule
the most
law and
creepy. I
authority.
doubt there's anything in between.
Is presented as fun. This warped idea of fun has contributed to the fact that 1 out of every 20 children born in the United States last year
Look at how accurate
was
that is.
illegitimate.
That graph didn't even have
The rate
axes
of
on it.
illegitimacy has been steadily climbing. And the care of these children costs taxpayers $1 billion.
It is
a
unfortunate
year
that they
in
chose to
government
only
aid.
tax George
This
there.
does not take into account the human misery or suffering that cannot be measured in dollars and cents. What these publications promote as fun
It
has
is.
helped
Try
to
it.
increase the spread of venereal disease in this country. Reported syphilis has increased more than 300% in the last 5 years.
And
The
100%
incidence of
more in
gonorrhea
me.
has been steadily rising. One segment of the increase occurs among the expanding homosexual population. But even more startling is the fact that the greatest increase in venereal
Why does that
disease
look like it was
is
written
among
with a bloody
children
finger?
10 to 18 years of age. The increasing crime rate also parallels the increase in obscenity. A vicious crime of violence, murder, forcible rape.
He said
or
rape
assault
like
to
Tony the
kill
Tiger says
is being
great.
committed every 3 minutes. The total cost of crime and human waste, misery, tax, and material loss is beyond calculation. Sex-mad magazines are helping to create criminals faster.
They should probably make
than we
jails
can
with
build
walls that are
jails
less
to house
elastic.
them. This $2 billion a year racket is challenging every mother and father in this country and everyone interested in the welfare of our children. The question is this.
What porn
Do you
to
want
buy?
your children
With so many
stimulated
choices
and driven
and so
into
many
an
different
early,
kinks, you
unstable
might find
marriage
yourself overwhelmed.
before they have had a chance to achieve the economic, educational, and emotional stability necessary for family life? Do you want your son enticed into the world of homosexuals?
I don't know. Are
Or
they
your
happy?
daughter
Whoa, 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 we're not
into
talking about
lesbianism?
happiness here.
Do
We're
you
talking
want
about the
either of
American
them
dream,
to discover
goddammit.
how to get sexual
Repression.
gratification
Cruel
by
repression.
inflicting pain on themselves or by torturing other people? Do you want them to lose all chance of a normal, happy, married life?
Yeah, you look well adjusted.
Opponents to the control of obscene literature state that the circulation of this material is the price we pay for freedom in this country.
Yeah?
But the United States Supreme Court does not agree. Smut peddlers do not have the right to contaminate our society. This is a nation of laws.
Laws that
And you
limit
and I
free
have a
speech. Oh, wait, shit.
constitutional guarantee
That's like the big one,
to
right?
Police protection
That's like
of
one?
our
Number one?
welfare.
Ah,
The
I thought we were in
law is
Iran.
our weapon.
I know two real good.
Here in a typical courtroom, a judge is instructing the jury in the case of a smut peddler.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
He must be annoyed that he lost the
Lakewood
top
has a
half of
valid
those glasses.
constitutional legal ordinance prohibiting the publication, sale, or distribution of obscene material.
Appears that the court stenographer
It
is
is under
dead.
this law that the defendant
Hiring a
herein
mannequin was a
arrested
lot
and
cheaper.
prosecuted. The Supreme Court of the United States
Oh, God,
has
it's
clearly
moving.
stated that obscenity is without constitutional protection. The Supreme Court has defined obscenity as material which deals with sex in a manner appealing to the prurient interest. That is, material having a tendency to excite lustful
Man, I'm
thought.
glad that they spiced
It might
this
be
little
well to
bit up
point
with
out
a court
that it is
scene.
not necessary to prove that this material has led to an act of violence or sex crime, but merely that the material taken in itself is obscene. The test is whether
What a
to the average
diverse
person
jury.
applying
Let's see, all
contemporary
white and
community
mostly male?
standards,
All right, good,
the
good.
dominant theme of the material taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest. If material meets this test, it is without the constitutional guarantees of freedom of press and speech. Now
What is this, a
you,
fucking
the
book
jury,
club? Get
must
on with
apply
it.
the test of obscenity to the material distributed by this defendant.
One of the jurors
ladies and
raises his
gentlemen of
hand
the
in the middle of
jury,
that speech and
are the
goes,
sole
I
triers
like
of the
porn.
facts in this case.
And then all the other jurors kind
The
of murmur and go,
application
oh
of
yeah,
this
I like
legal
porn
test
too.
to
Yeah.
the
Oh, wait,
evidence
that's
is
what we're
to be
talking
made
about?
by you
Yeah, he's just
and
using
you
fancy
alone.
words. Porn. I
You,
love
in
porn.
effect,
Why the
by
fuck are
your
we wasting our
decency,
time listening to this
determine the level
shithole?
of morality in this
Kill the
community.
old man.
You indeed are the peers of the community.
My good.
Well,
you know what that
And so,
scene
my
needed?
friend,
Porn.
The question is whether you consider publications, samples of which you have seen in this film, to be below your community standards.
Nope.
Yeah,
To
I'm
find
good.
the answer, ask yourself these questions. Would you display this material on your living room table?
Come on, that's not.
Do you
What are
find
you,
such
stupid?
material in the living rooms of your friends and neighbors? Would you read stories from these publications to your family or
I mean, no,
friends?
that's straight up
Would
creepy.
you undertake
That's
to
not
sell
how
this
porn
material
works at
from
all.
Door to door?
Hey, Dad, you want to catch a porno later?
Of course
No,
you would
son,
not.
you're fucking weird.
Your community standards are far above this depraved material. Now, what can you do to solve the problem?
Kill you.
You've seen the nature of the problem. You've heard the legal solution. But what can you as an individual in your own community do? First, start with your own home. Check your own
This picture
reading
seems
and the
to
reading matter
suggest
coming
doing
into your
something
home
with
for
your right
entire
hand.
family. Remember, children can be contaminated by magazines brought into the home by adults. Second, promote good reading.
Only
Encourage
masturbate to
children
the
to use the
Constitution of the
library.
United States of
Good books
America.
and magazines
In God
will
we
help build
trust.
positive values that are a protection against obscenity. Third, check neighborhood outlets that display pocketbooks and magazines, grocery stores, newsstands.
Wow, those
malt
children
shops,
are being mugged by
everywhere from the
capitalism.
corner drugstore to the barber shop. And if you find obscenity for sale, call it to the attention of the owner. Remember, trading in stores that sell salacious material supports the obscenity racketeers. Fourth, report objectionable material to the police.
Is one of those a
Every
policeman?
arrest and prosecution. Every
It's hard to tell
conviction
which one.
is a step in
Doesn't
the
look
education
like
of the
it. I think
public
what you meant to
to the
write was
solution of the
notify your
problem.
local posse.
Remember, the law is your weapon. Fifth, write letters of commendation to police, prosecutors, other public officials, and to the newspapers whenever they take action against obscenity. Such letters
Look
and
at how
other
happy
direct
that guy
contact
is writing things
inform
to
the
stop
public
boners.
officials how high your community standards are. Sixth, form a committee for decent literature within your fraternal, civic, or religious organization.
You can
This
imagine the
committee will
wild
keep
times.
your own organization informed and active against this plague of filth. Form a Citizens for Decent Literature group in your community.
No.
Yeah.
Such a community organization will awaken people to the problem.
Me.
It will provide
Remember,
speakers
I'm
and
always
other
out
means
there.
to educate the public and arouse public opinion which will support the police
I don't
and
want to arouse
prosecutors
the police.
so that prompt, vigorous enforcement of the law can be expected. Information and advice on the organization of a Citizens for Decent Literature unit can be obtained by writing
Brandon, write this
to
down.
Okay.
Let's send them a bunch of porn.
CCL, Box 12.
The zip code's
Cincinnati,
1.
Ohio.
How old is this?
So you can see from what I have told you and shown you today,
And
that
you
a
may
moral
ask
decay
yourself,
is
well, when this
spreading through our
PSA
country
end?
and our society. This same type of rot and decay caused 16 of the 19 major civilizations to vanish from the earth. Magnificent Egypt. classical
I'm going to
Greece,
need to see some
Imperial
support for
Rome,
that.
all crumbled away, not because of the strength of the aggressor, but because of moral decay from within.
No.
But we are in a unique position to cure our own ills. Our Constitution was written by men who put their trust in God.
Yeah, none of them were perverts.
Based on his laws. These laws are on our side. We have a constitutional guarantee of protection against obscenity.
Man, this erectile dysfunction man origin story is boring.
We must seek to deliver ourselves from this twisting, torturing evil. We must save our nation from decay.
Do you think this guy roots decay out of our society one hooker at a time at a rest stop?
He was the guy with that meat hook in the drawing.
That was his Christmas card that year.
A safe home. Oh, God, deliver us, Americans, from evil.
The only happy takeaway I have from that is that actor is most likely dead now.
Let's everybody thank our wonderful host, Gary Ridgway.